Family. Hey guys, Mount Vernon Kid here. As promised, I'm about 4 hours late. I did want to start today, but it's all good. Um, Reason why, I was chilling with the family. It's good times. Just chilling with all my cousins. It's good on my mother's side. But I'm here to deliver. Welcome to the Captain America Q&A discussion. Basically, you guys who couldn't make the Q&A live, you left questions on the announcement vid. If you left them on Twitter or you left them on Tumblr, I have 4 from Tumblr, a couple from Twitter, and the rest are from YouTube. But like I said, I'm here to deliver your question. Like I said, as promised, rocking the cap shirt. Like I said, so let us begin. Once again, for those who can make it here to the live and will leave their questions, you can ask 4 questions instead of 3. Uh, but for those who could not make it, yeah, you got to ask 3. So what I am planning to do is I think I'll go Twitter, Tumblr, then end them on with the YouTube questions. All right. So let's start with the Twitter and Tumblr questions first. So I'm gonna go Twitter. I'm gonna use my phone and look on Twitter. And like I said, if you ask yourself, Chris, why do you say Twitter like that? Blame Chris Jericho because he now got me saying it like that. It's funny, but it's Jericho that's got me like that. So let's get to the questions. All right. All right. All right. First couple of questions. Okay, where are they? I know they're here. Go down a little bit more. They're probably down below, but mm, let's skip these. Let's get all right. Let's keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Aha! No, wait. No, wrong question. Um, all right, here we go. First questions come from at Princess of Geeks. That is my friend Serena Sampson. Uh, Hail to the princess herself. First question she asks is, would you like an American Dream live action? I guess you're talking live action movie. This does, once again, it is kind of Captain America centered. But answer the first question, Serena. Uh, in my world, I would, but we all should know Marvel. They're not, or any studio has any Marvel like they will not do alternate versions of the heroes, and that's kind of sad. You know, that's why with Sony we'll always see Peter Parker um, as Spider-Man. We won't see Miles Morales or Miguel O'Hare or Ben Riley, anybody like that. We're never going to see that. With Marvel studios, we'll probably never see the closest other person I would think that would be Captain America. It would probably be Bucky, but we probably never see Shannon Carter, Sharon Carter's niece from the Marvel 2 universe, Earth 982. I always said that if there's one world I would love to see Marvel bring back into print, besides 616 and 1610, which is the Ultimate Universe, is Earth 982, the Marvel 2 universe. That's the universe where Anex and J2, and of course my beloved Mayday Parker, Spider Girl, that's their universe. Where a lot of the heroes now are older or passed on the torch. Fantastic Five, where Johnny Storm and Lyja, his Skrull wife, is leading the Fantastic Four. Stuff like that. I wouldn't mind seeing it. Hopefully we can see it animated. Would be really cool, but live action wise, it'd be interesting. I'm trying to figure out who I would get to play Shannon. Who would I get to play? Who would get to play Shannon? If she wasn't doing Black Canary, I'm forgetting the actress's name. Who plays Black Canary on Arrow. I think she would make a good Shannon Carter, aka American Dream. So yeah, in my world, I would love to see it, but we would never see it. Your next question: how about John Walker live action? U.S. Agent. Live. That would be interesting. That would be interesting to see John Walker live action wise. That would be really interesting because I would have thought that they would probably try to segue him into the live action stuff now. Like, since Chris Evans, his contract as Cap is going to be up soon, you would have figured like, okay, that would be next. They would probably try to get John Walker as Cap. I don't hate John Walker. I liked him. I have a lot of respect for John Walker, but he and Cap never really saw eye to eye too closely. They just from different times and different eras, and the way Cap looks at things and John Walker looks at things. They've teamed up, but there's always like this animosity between them. When the government took which was a really good storyline, it was called Captain America No More, where the government pretty much sanctioned that the Captain America uniform, the shield, everything was U.S. property, and said that if Cap didn't work for the government, then they'll take it away from him. And hence Cap started to be the captain and things like that. That's when John Walker took over as Cap and things like that. So that would be really interesting to see, but I wouldn't mind seeing John Walker live action as well, Serena. Just a different take on him, so to speak. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. And your third question, I know you had a third question because I saw you get it when I was with my cousins. I heard it go off. You didn't send all three at the same time. So let's see. I know it's here. I know it's here. Okay. Your third question. Name me a team up Cap had that you were surprised at. A team up Cap had that I was surprised at. Will probably be him and Jubilee recently. During the whole A plus X team up book that Marvel was doing. I like that series where it would have an Avenger and an X-Men team up. In this series, in this team up, Cap teamed up with Jubilee, and this is Jubilee she's the vampire now. So, and I was really surprised at it. Surprised at how good it was. It came off really likable, and really the team up really was cool in a sense because at the time, basically, there was a what was it? Cap and Jubilee went into a submarine that was sunk at the bottom. I think it was a Nazi submarine that was found or something like that. I'm trying to remember the storyline. And Jubilee went in there, and Jubilee started to get on this case of the only reason why Cap brought her was because she's a vampire, and the people inside the borders inside the sub were vampires. So, but no, he was telling her typical Cap routine of showcasing you got what it takes, giving her this motivated speech, and it was really cool. I really enjoyed it a lot. Of it was really cool to see Cap tell Jubilee, like, I didn't bring you down here just because we're dealing with vampires. No, he was telling her basically the fact that, you know he was promoting her skills and her all the training she's been through as an X-Men, being with Generation X, all that stuff. He was telling her that stuff as encouragement, not as, you know like just branding her. Well, you're a vampire, so things like that. So I really enjoyed that team up very much. Thank you, Serena, as always, for the question. As always, Serena Sampson, at Princess of Geeks. That's her Twitter account. Um, I don't think she minds you following her on Twitter, but I can tell you with a shadow of a doubt, following her on Facebook, she is very cautious about that. You have to really talk to her to really before she'll like befriend you. And I'm cool with that. All right. So let's move on to the next questions. Comic Book Bros. Question number 1: do you believe Sam can take on the role as Cap with ease? No, I don't. I think and I'm hoping that it's not that easy. I don't want it to be easy for Sam, and it shouldn't be. This is a big step for Sam, and if it was that easy, then anybody can do it. You know what I'm saying? So you're taking on a symbol of an icon, and if it was easy, like I said, if it was easy, bro, anybody could do it. And I don't want it to be easy. And they have said that it's going to be some trials and tribulations for Sam. He's not going to be able to use the shield properly. He's going to be going through some trials with that. And I'm glad. I don't want it to be easy. Don't want it to be easy at all. Because if it's easy, then I'm going to be like, you know what, then what's the point of me reading this then? Because then it's going to be like, I'm going to look at it like exactly what I said. Then anybody could have been Captain America. So, no, I don't want it to be easy. Cap, your next question is, do you think Marvel will bring the Cap hidden story, as I like to call it, truth to life in the DC Marvel cinematic universe one day? Basically, you're saying, will we ever get to see Isaiah Bradley? I would love to see them do the Isaiah Bradley story, which takes place after Cap, in a sense, or somewhere in between Cap. It's basically the Tuskegee Airmen project, but just Marvel style. And it would be really cool to see that being brought. I remember there was all that talk of, like, Will Smith was going to be Captain America. Hey, if Will wants to do Isaiah Bradley, I'll take it. Okay. If he wants to do Isaiah Bradley, cool. But I would love to see them. And if it's not a cinematic movie, then make it a one of the one shots. Tell it in a Netflix series. Something like that. But showcase that Steve wasn't the only one. After him, and we may get scenes of that, hopefully, if Agent Carter does very well, and I'm hoping it does well, then we might get to see certain aspects of it. Yeah, like maybe it did happen. So you never know. Your next question is, do you think it's an interesting idea to give the Patriot an ongoing with older Steve and Sam as his mentor? Right now, the way I keep looking at it is not right now, because Isaiah I mean, Eli has basically said he's done. He's done being the hero. After, and once again, I keep saying it. Look at the mindset of what happened. He witnessed one of his good friends die. That's going to play head games with you. And you're going to look at yourself mentally in a sense of like, I couldn't save my friend. So that's why he gave up being a Patriot. And I don't want anybody to force Eli back into action as the Patriot. Would I want to see somebody else take on the role? Maybe. But the part of me would want to see Eli. Now, once again, like I said, it's still Captain America centered, so I'm still going to let this stuff slide. But, yeah, I think I don't want to see Eli just brought back to just because, it's fans want him back. It's got to be the right time and place. And right now, that's not the right time for him. Eli is still going through he's retired, basically. He's living in Scottsdale, Arizona with his mother. He's done being the hero. Unless there's something unless Marvel or whoever wants to take on that writing, the only person I would say I would take doing a Patriot series is Alan Higginberg. That is the only person I can see really taking on a series. And he would probably do an idea that would say, okay, this is how we're going to bring Eli back into the costume. But I don't see anybody else really taking on that notion of like just half-assing something and saying, oh, we're just going to, because he got tired of sitting on the sideline. No. There's got to be a reason for him coming back, because if that was me in his place and I saw my good friend Casey Lang get killed and I couldn't be able to have a part of trying to save her, that's going to play head games with me. And, like, I don't know if I got what it takes anymore. I applaud the others that still went on to continue, but Eli, being that almost he was like the leader of the team, so it's going to play head games with him. But thank you for the questions. Comic Bros, thank you, Serena. And thank you, Comic Book Bros, for the questions on Twitter. I'm going to go now to the 4 questions on Tumblr. And then I will end them. I will do the questions that are on the announcement vid, and then I'll do whatever questions are live that have live questions. But for all those who are here live with me, you can ask me 4 questions each. Those are for people who are live. All right, so let me go to the Tumblr. And I have 4 questions. I didn't see who wrote them. All right. Unfortunately, they're unknown. They don't want to have their names out. That's fine. I have no problem with, people want to keep their name under content. Oh, wait, no, I got one. That's cool. So I'll start with the unknowns first. Your question is, do you think, when did you first get into Captain America? Cap has always been a center of my eye for a long time. I did not just jump on Cap during, let's say, the Ed Brubaker run, because I can guarantee you, a majority of you probably that's where you first jumped on Cap, and I have no regrets for you jumping on that. I've been with Cap for a long time. He's always been a center of my eye. He's one of my favorite. He's in my top 10 favorite Marvel heroes. I first remember reading Cap when I was 10 years old in that stack of books that my dad gave me. So yeah, and that was issue number 300 and something. I think it was 312 326, I believe, issue 326. But I was always with Cap, and I liked this character. I was like, wow, here's a character. You know, he wears this uniform proudly. You know, it was cool. Then you go back, you start reading his history and things like that, and you're like, whoa, this character's cool. So yeah, I've been with him since I was 10 years old. So thank you for the question. To the other person on Twitter, on Tumblr, who asked me unbeknownst, who is another, basically, would you mind if, did you like Steve and Black Widow basically having a relationship in the Ultimate Avengers animated movies? Um, I didn't mind that, because hence they would have a kid in next Avengers. Um, that was their kid. Um, I didn't mind too much of Natasha and Steve, but I never saw Natasha and Steve having a clicking, in that relationship. I thought they clicked as a good partnership, but never as a couple. But I didn't mind it at all. I thought it was all right. I looked at it like the build up to it was kind of interesting. I was like, it kind of seems like Natasha's kind of hitting on Steve in Ultimate Avengers, the animated series. Those animated movies that they had. You know, um, but it was all right. Didn't mind it at all. So yeah, there you go. So that's your So that was another person that asked me. I only have one for each person on Tumblr, guys. The next question is from another anonymous. Like I said, I don't mind that, guys. If you leave it anonymous, you don't want to be heard, or you don't want nobody knowing. That's fine. I don't care. The next question is: Were you like me, Mount Vernon Kid, or Honorable Warrior? Because on Tumblr I go by the Honorable Warrior. Were you like me, Honorable Warrior, where you were all for Chris Evans as Captain America? Absolutely. Um, I was all on board for Chris Evans to take on Cap. When it was announced that Mr. Chris Evans was going to be Captain America, I was right on board from the get-go. I saw all the comments on forums and everything, but he's a comedic actor. He can't pull it off, blah blah. He played Johnny Storm. He needs to be somebody funny, blah blah blah. He can't do it. Hey, I was like, you know what? That's BS right there, because I seen him play some serious roles, and you were just like, whoa, okay. And for Cap, when he came on as Steve Rogers as Captain America in that first movie, I was like, I'm impressed. He had Cap down just like that. I loved him as Cap. Just hearing how he spoke and how it would be like pulling Steve Rogers out of the comics and saying, we're gonna welcome to my world, welcome to our world, Mr. Rogers, where in our world you're just a character of fiction. But here's your movie portrayal. Here's your movie portrayal. How'd you like it? The actor's name is Chris Evans. You probably know him. He's probably in your world, but he played you. How you think he did? I guarantee you, Steve would be like, I'm very impressed. Steve would be very impressed at Chris Evans' performance. I thought he was great. And then in Winter Soldier, he just upped it. And I was just like so impressed. I love one of the speeches that I love is when Dr. Ernstein is talking to him, and he's just like, so you want to go over and kill some Nazis, do you? And that line, the first thing that came out of Steve's mouth solidified me personally. That's Steve. That's exactly what Steve would say. I don't want to go over and kill anybody. I don't like bullies. That's Steve. That's Steve. To a T. Perfect. So yeah, I was all for it. Um, your next. Now, this person did give that person's name, so I'm pretty cool. Psycholic. Wait, Psycho Penguin, 1972. Okay, Psycho Penguin. Your question is, who do you want to see? Wait, do you want? Do you? Excuse me. Do you feel that Sebastian Stan will take over the Shield in the cinematic universe? It's yeah. I think Sebastian Stan, who plays Bucky, I think he's gonna take over as Captain America. He has signed a 8 picture deal with Marvel. So far, he has been, I would say, pretty much. I'm not sure. Do we count Bucky from first Avengers? So I would say that and Winter Soldier. That's 2 pictures down. He's done. He's got 6 more to go. So I'm banking he's going to be in Cap 3, and um, I'm banking he's going to be in Cap 3, and I'm banking that in Cap 3 we're going to see the birth of the Marvel Cinematic Universe of the Secret Avengers in there. So, and I'm thinking the Marvel Cinematic Secret Avengers are going to be Cap, Natasha, Hawkeye, Falcon, Bucky, and probably Fury. That's going to be the Secret Avengers for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's just me. That's personally me. But yeah, I think he's going to take over. I don't think they're going to just jump the gun and go right and have Anthony Mackie take over as Cap, because he still needs to be more developed as. I love this portrayal of the Marvel Cinematic version of Falcon, but I think he needs to stay Falcon. All I'm looking for him is seeing him get into some sort of variation of the real Falcon suit. I think they can pull it off, and I would love to see it. Because I'm thinking somewhere down the line, we're going to see a certain character from Wakanda give Falcon those famous wings from Wakandan technology. That's just me. So thank you, Psycho Penguin 1972. This guy's on Tumblr. Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody on Tumblr. Thank you very much. Now we move on to the announcement questions, and then I'll move on to see if there's questions on the live feed. So we're gonna go top. We're gonna go. I think we're gonna go. We're gonna start top to. We're gonna go start top, and then we're gonna go to the bottom. All right. So first 3 questions come from Jake Bats. Hey Jake, how you doing, man? First question say, what in your opinion is one of the strangest things ever done with Steve Rogers? Hmm. Um. I don't know. I really don't know. I would say probably one of the strangest things for me um, was the whole segment of he didn't really die after Civil War. You know, when Sharon shot him thanks to Faust, you know, controlling her, and basically they were time bullets. He was trapped in time, and I'm like, and I hate the time stuff. I hate that. I hate where it's basically, oh well, they're not really dead. What looked like they really died, no, they're just trapped in time. They did it with Batman. You know, oh, you know, that famous scene of Clark holding a corpse of Batman's corpse after him being shot with uh, Darkseid's Omega Beam. He's not dead. He's trapped in time. Well, we see him in a cave writing hieroglyphs, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Same thing with Steve. He gets shot, but no, the bullets sent him in time, and I'm like, really? And I hate and the time stuff. It just like it gets old really quick, and it's just like that's so stupid. And that's strange to me. That was strange. That's the best I can come up with that one, Jake. Your next question is there if they were ever to appear in film, who do you think who do you think who do you want to play Baron Zemo? I say Viggo Morrison. Baron Zemo. I have no question that somewhere down the line for the Captain America world, we'll see Baron Zemo sometime soon. If we don't get to see Red Skull come back, then Baron Zemo definitely. Viggo Morrison as Baron Zemo. Uh, I could take that. Um, then I can see Isaac Daniels. I believe that's his name. You guys probably heard the name. He's famous. He's a great actor. Um, he was the villain in The Patriot, the Mel Gibson movie, The Patriot. I think he could pull off Baron Zemo. I even said he could play Doctor Doom too. Um, but I think he could pull it off too. So those are two guys that I can see. Um, there's others, but off the top of my head, Jake, right off the top, he was the first guy that popped in my head. Next question actually is, what Captain America is your favorite? Mine is the one who we see in the Winter Soldier / the Ultimate Universe minus the mask. Uh, favorite Captain America? You're talking Marvel Cinematic Universe Cap. It's pretty much is 616 Cap. So he's a combination of all. I don't like Ultimate Cap. Um, I don't understand why do you have to make him such a dick and a prick? Oh yeah, blame that on Mark Millar and Joe Fat Casada for that. You know, the whole thing of, well, he's a soldier and he needs to be a badass. We'll mix a little bit of Rambo and things like that. It's like, the fuck out of here with that shit. Or, you know, the whole question, and I hate when he brings it up every time. There's no way this guy went through the darkest days of World War II and he didn't kill anybody. Or there's no way he didn't use a gun or kill it. And I'm like, do we need to know that? Do we need to see that? Who cares? You know, it's like, I never liked Ultimate Cap. 616 Cap is my favorite. I still like him now, but I don't like how they're portraying him a little bit now. It's like the whole thing I don't like about Marvel now, and DC's doing the same thing with their premier team. Justice League is coming off all high and mighty now. Same thing with Avengers now. It's like you can't be a part of any other team. You got to be with the Avengers now. That's the A team. That's the team you need to be going to. That's where you need to be. It's almost in a sense, Marvel is kind of like saying, in a sense, the Avengers are like the NWO when they were at their highest. Come to the NWO, you'll get fame and fortune, blah, 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 everything like that. That's how Marvel is coming off with the Avengers now. It's like, come to the Avengers, you're going to be famous, you're going to get recognized, everybody's, it's like, come on, get out of here with that crap. So thank you for the questions, Jake. Hope I answered your questions right. I'll be right back, guys. My mouth is dry. I should have poured something to drink, but I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Like I said, mouth is getting dry. So pour me something to drink. All right, so Mr. J's comic book reviews. Hey, Jay, what up, dude? He says, basically, Jay put these just in case he couldn't make the live show. And Jay is busy. He's back in school. Congratulations, in his junior year. That's cool. Want to give a shout out also to my friend Steve. He is at the Baltimore Comic Con, having a good time down there. I'm happy for him. Just hoping he's having a good time. Be safe, Steve. All right. So the question, Jay, you asked me is, what's your favorite Cap story? Mine is Man Out of Time. I have a couple of Cap stories I like. I just mentioned some of them. Captain America No More. I thought that was a good story arc. When the government took the Captain America uniform, the shield, everything from Steve, basically saying like, you're our property, because Steve didn't like where the government was going at the time. He wasn't for what they were doing, and they were saying like, you are almost an American product, so basically you belong to us. That costume, note, that shield, that uniform, everything belongs to us. So either you be Cap or give us our property back. And Steve, was first time ever. Steve, said, all right, you know what? I can't fight this. I'm not gonna fight this. So I give it up. And he became the captain. And he decked himself. He looked totally different. Just didn't look like Steve. He had a cape. He had a black and yellow costume. He had a mask, like almost a domino mask, but it wasn't. And he still helped out. He still kept a close eye on his fellow Avengers. He was just called the Captain. And he still had a shield, but it was decked black. But that was a good story arc. Man Out of Time was good, very good. There was just a very, anything Brubaker wrote was just great. I'm gonna just put out that there. So a lot of people say, I always thank Brubaker for taking on Cap, and I say it too. Brubaker is one of my favorite Cap writers because he took Cap in a direction I was looking for him to go, and I always felt Cap can go in that direction, that espionage direction, that thriller, espionage, spy-esque thriller route, and it works. It works for Cap very much. Next question you asked me, Jay, is what's your opinion on Cap's actions during Marvel's Civil War? I'm not a big fan of the Civil War, guys. I never have been. I'll make that perfectly. I think everybody knows me. As I said, you ask Chris about the Civil War, he won't. He will acknowledge he hated that story arc. He didn't like it. I've always said I wish that was a dream, a nightmare Steve was having, that he had, because the characters were written out of character, in my opinion. I was like, some of these characters have been friends for 40-something plus years, longer, and this breaks them up. The way they made the New Warriors be like the casualties of war, be the first shot that started the war. I hated what they did. I don't talk about I don't like the Civil War. Steve's actions in the Civil War, I must admit, how he was portrayed, you can't deny a little bit of it's a bit of truth. It's like, why should the heroes register, under the government? I can understand where some of them were coming from, is like, you guys are no different than a police officer or FBI agent. However, the thing about it is, the way I looked at it was, well, with the FBI and a cop, they don't have superpowered villains coming after them. There was more to it than just that, but, Steve, you got to remember the time that Steve grew up in, where, seriously, those days, you had your clear-cut villain. You know, he's a man out of time. So when he's in this time now, you know, it's not a clear-cut villain. Not everything is black and white. There's shades of gray, and you know, that's how Steve was looking at it as also. But you know, just one of them scenes, one of my iconic scenes is seeing Steve nearly kill Tony. He was gonna kill Tony, and it was just like, I can't believe they're doing this. You know, it just was really, it was just, I couldn't take that. Who's your favorite Captain America writer? Like I said, Ed Brubaker. Um, uh, um, I think Tom DeFalco did some Captain America writing. I thought his writing was good for Cap. Um, oh God, there's a couple of writers, Jay, but yeah, Brubaker's up there, very much. And like I said, what did I just say? Wasn't a big Cap fan until his run. I always respected Steve as a character, but it's because of Brubaker. And once again, I have no harbored feelings about that because that's where a lot of people jumped on Cap. Zach the Thunder King, you asked me, what is your favorite Captain America moment? There's a couple, but are we talking just comic wise, or? But if we're just talking comic wise, just seeing when the Avengers first found them, that issue, Captain America 4, I mean Avengers 4, excuse me, seeing him and them like, oh my God, that shield, that's Captain America. And he comes back, and then him just leading the team. It's cool. Another moment seeing him punch Hitler. Hey, that's a moment. Seeing him punch old Pickle Puss. That's a moment. You know, there you go. What, Zach, also, what would you do if you had Cap Shield? What would I do if I had Cap Shield? I'd mount it in honor of him. I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't use it at all. It would get mounted somewhere and keep it. I would keep it clean, but keep it. And if he comes, you know, and if Steve came looking for it, there you go. Give it right back to him. I don't think I could be. I don't think I could take Steve's place. I feel that I feel that I'm an embodiment of a hero. I feel most of my dreams, I'm a hero. I'm always the hero. I'm never the villain or anything like that. I'm either fighting alongside one of my favorite characters as myself, but I'm never that character. Never. Your next question, Zach, is who do you think wrote Captain America well? Ed Brubaker. Ed Brubaker is one of them. Like I said, Tom DeFalco. I think, like I said, I'm thinking he wrote some good stuff. I don't mind Rick Remender's writing for him. He went a different route with Cap, that sci-fi route, which is cool. So there are a couple, but Brubaker, gotta applaud him because he took Cap in the route I wanted him to go. Spy, espionage, thriller feel, good stuff. And come on, Brubaker, who would have thought bringing back Cap's old partner Bucky, and it would get such a well received reception? Who would have thought that? You know, nowadays you bring back a character that's been dead, it's almost like, oh, so what? He's brought back. Oh well, why don't you just keep that character dead? When we saw Brubaker bring Bucky back, it was almost like, holy shit. Like, Bucky? We haven't heard that name in over 50, 40, 60 years. It's like, whoa. Next up. So thank you, Zach, for the questions. Next up. Burnout or Seven. What would you think if you met? What would you do if you met Captain America? Shake his hand, tell him thank you, um, and just talk to the guy. Not as a superhero, just talk to him as as a man. Just talk to him as, what was it like growing up during the times that you grew up? Those are the things I regret asking my grandparents. I have no more grandparents now. All my grandparents are in heaven now, and I was those are some things I regret not asking my grandparents. Like, what was it like when you were growing up? The only reason I didn't is because I know there was probably some bad times. There were some bad times, and I don't want to have them bring that up. Probably some bad memories for them. But with Cap, the same thing. I'd be a little reluctant, but I would actually, but then I would also ask him, like, so who's the hardest to really who's the hardest to really get along with, or what was Wolverine like before he was with Weapon X or something like that? You worked with the guy. What was he like, back then? I was Logan. Things like that. I would ask him. What's it like working with Spider-Man? Things like. First, I would talk to him as a man, but then the fanboy in me would come out and just start asking him about, is Thor as big as he looks and things like that? Does he really talk like that? Does he really have that much respect for you? And things like that. Can you really pick up Mjolnir and things like, I would start asking questions like that. You asked me, what would Captain America think of Master Chief? I think he'd have a lot of respect for Master Chief. I think he'd see some similarities with him and see some differences, but overall have a lot of respect for him, very much. Your next question is, what do you think of Captain America and Earth's Mightiest Heroes compared to Captain America and Avengers Assemble? Love Captain America and Earth's Mightiest Heroes better than Avengers Assembled. Way big difference. Big difference. And better overall better overall portrayal, and just feel of the character. I just love how he talks and things like that. If you want to going back to okay, moment, there's a Captain America moment, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, during, when he's fighting the Skrull that impersonated him, and he's just like, him basically saying, what makes you what makes you think you could stop us? And it's just that, it's our spirit. We never give up. And I'm like, oh, that's Steve right away, and I was loving that. Avengers Assembled, Steve, he tries to act too much like, he tries to play off like it's the same Steve from, he tries to play it off like he's the same Steve, but you can see the total difference. And it's not just the voiceover acting, it's everything. It is. All right. So let's move on to the next questions. Dr. D. Rex. Yo, how you doing, man? How you doing, bro? Who did Captain who did Cap Shield get repaired in the comic? Uh, uh, are we talking? I'm kind of confused at your question, because are you saying when Cap got his shield broke? The technology pretty much is Wakandan technology, vibranium and things like that, and with adamantium. See, in Cap shield is made up of vibranium and adamantium, but they can't say adamantium in the cinematic universe because that's still Fox. So it is a combination, but most of the time it is a combination of Panther and Tony and them just making a new shield. So it's a combination if that's what they mean. What happened to the shield after Cap died? Um, well, technically, somebody held the shield. If I'm not mistaken, Tony held the shield for a while when he supposedly died during that time. But yeah, I think that's who I think you mean. Um, and next one, did Cap have kids? No. Technically, he never had any children. Um, 616 Cap didn't. Ultimate Cap did because Ultimate Red Skull was his son. Uh, yeah, you figure that one out. Um, but in the 616, he raised Armin Zola's child. Um, he raised him, and he did a good job raising that boy until you know things happened. He, he didn't die though. He didn't die because he's Nomad now. He's the new Nomad. All right. So thanks for the questions, D Rex. All right. So we move on to Nymphry, my friend Danny. Yo, Dano, how you doing, man? Uh, in one Deadpoolzilla, in one video Deadpoolzilla did a few years ago, he said his first most wanted crossover is Captain America and Indiana Jones. So how would you do that crossover? Uh, the I would have done a would have been a perfect time for Captain America and um and Indy to meet. Last Crusade. That would have been a perfect time to meet. Red Skull wanting the Holy Grail, immortality. Dr. Jones, Steve Rogers meet there, or I should say the Joneses meet there, or Raiders of the Lost Ark. That could have been another good place for them to meet. That's how I would have did it. That's how I would have did a crossover. I would have kept it in the time that because it would be hard to do Steve Rogers now and Dr. Jones. He's no way. He wouldn't be alive. Cranberry juice, good stuff. Um, Next question. What would Cap and Bucky? What would Cap and Bucky and Black Widow think of the Joes? They would have the utmost respect for the Joes. Cap, they all would. I think. Um, I think Widow could teach a few things for Scarlet and Lady J and things like that. Uh, Bucky could probably teach a couple of Joes some things like Beachhead and all of them. Tunnel Rat, Spirit. I think Spirit would really get along well with Cap. Cap would get along good with Spirit. Duke and Cap, Hawk and Cap. Yeah, they would have the utmost respect for the Joes very much. That would be a good crossover too. If Deathstroke was to meet Steve, would he have a lot of respect for Cap? Absolutely. But I think there'd still be a point where, you know, the respect would be there, but he would want to see it in, he would want to see, like, I still need to see it from myself, how good this guy really is. How can this guy lead this powerful team when there are beings on that team powerful than him, and they follow his orders, no question asked. He would still have respect, but it was also like, should I believe the hype or should I not believe the hype? Let's see for myself. That's how I look at it. Oh my God, Clanders. Uh, hey man. Um, if you met Cap in real life, what would you say? I just answered that one. In the comics, when the serum pumps him up again, do you think he will be Cap or have a different superhero identity since Falcon is Cap? You know what? First of all, the whole thing what Miranda did with, the Iron Nail taking the serum out of Cap and he reverting back to his natural age, showcasing his natural appearance as a 90-year-old man. To me, I felt that was stupid because the serum did not keep him from aging. I think people get the misconception that the super soldier serum was like an anti-aging, serum. It wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. Plus, they have stated that the serum is so much incorporated into his blood that it's impossible to drain it from him. It's impossible. It won't work. You understand what I'm saying? But I don't think if they go that route, well, okay, easily. Let's just pump him with another serum. How? How? Because no one has the formula anymore. They have upgraded it, but it's not the same now. And I really wouldn't want them to. If they're gonna keep this for a while, keep it for a while. Don't just say, well, I know a lot of people are saying that Sam is not gonna be the Captain America for long. They're gonna do it just like they did Bucky when he was Cap, and once Cap came out with that first movie, they went right back to Cap, Steve being Cap. I'm hoping they don't do that with, well, we're going to give it some, I'm hoping they have a set plan, and it's a good plan, not to just shoehorn that title back to Steve. I've always said that both of these companies, they fear change. And they always need to keep, well, the movies, this is that, so we got to bring that character. It's like, come on. Um, what would what would be your ideal Captain America game? My ideal Captain America game would be a little bit similar to Metal Gear Solid. With, I would say, um, I would say a little bit of Arkham as well. All right. So, but thank you for the questions. Spawn17 says to me, do you wish Bucky was still Cap? Yeah. Um, mhm. I thought Bucky was a good Cap. He was coming around very well to the role. He made it his own. I like the fact that I'm hoping that when Sebastian Stan does take up the role, that they give him the Bucky Cap costume, not the costume now. I want that costume. Um, so yeah. So I did enjoy him. Do I wish he still was. These Pontiacs me, what would Cap think of the Expendables? I'm not sure. I don't know if Cap is really big on soldiers of fortune, mercenaries. I don't think he's that big on them. Um, but I don't think he would hate them. But he would. I think he would try to find the good in them. Like, they don't just do this for money. Mercenaries. Soldiers of fortune. You know. Dick. Cap meet Superman before. Reason why I asked this because I can't remember. Yeah, they met during the JLA Avengers crossover. They met then. Um, Good book too. Uh, George Perez, good stuff in there. Um, that is a crossover done right. No character looked inferior to each other. They had respect for the Marvel stuff and the DC stuff, and I like that. I hate when you could clearly see that they're favoring just this character. Good book. All right, lowly peasant. Who is your favorite Cap artist? Uh, well, always got to say hail to the king, Jack Kirby up there. Love how I love Mike Deodato. He draws Cap. He gives Cap that really great. I just love his artwork. Period. Um, Dale Eagleheim is a good Cap artist. David Finch does a good job at Cap. Um, Ramita, uh, Bagley. There's a bunch of them. Um, there's a Hitch does a pretty good job as Cap too. So yeah, there's a bunch of. Um, are you a fan of the Nomad storyline and the character? Yeah, I didn't mind Nomad. I thought he was cool as a character. So yeah, not bad at all. Your next question is, what is your favorite Cap team? Avengers, Invaders, Stars and Stripes, etc. Uh, Avengers, of course. Vaders, I like too. But I thought, for me, great Cap team, and I wish that team was still together. Secret Avengers, the first Secret Avengers team. That team that Cap put together, him, Sharon, War Machine, Nova, Moon Knight, um, Eric O'Grady, Natasha, Valkyrie. That team was badass. I liked that team. And then sometimes Shang-Chi would come in. It was like, yo, that's a badass team. So thank you for the question. 58, 632, HHHH. Which is Captain America? Which is Captain America's best battle in comics? Um, that's a hard one. Um, but I can also say another moment for me in terms of is him standing up to Thanos. That was a moment. Infinity Crisis. Infinity Gauntlet. Excuse me. Uh, what are your thoughts if Cap and Punisher team up? Team up happens in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now that the rights are back with Marvel. Uh, I don't see it happening. It would be kind of cool, but I don't see it happening with Steve Rogers. I see it happening maybe with Bucky taking over Cap. That would be interesting. Very interesting indeed. Number 3. If Winter Soldier was in the Metal Gear universe, can Bucky go through what Big Boss and Solid Snake went through? Oh yeah, he's been through that. He has been through it. So I don't even say why. You should say, can he? He's been through that, and probably far worse. I mean, Big Boss didn't get brainwashed, and Snake didn't get brainwashed. They do missions, go in the cryogenic sleep for 10 years, come back out for another, messing with your AO. He's done a lot. Green Arrow Hunter. Uh, should Cap and Sharon Carter get married? They should have been married a long time ago, but Marvel, the big two have this major problem with superheroes being married or having girlfriends. That's why they killed her off again. That's why they killed Shannon off. Sharon off. Stupid. They should have been married. And I believe Steve proposed her at one point too, and I think she declined it. Um, who is your favorite Captain America voice actor? Uh, the actor who voiced him in Earth's Mightiest Heroes was a good. He was a good voice. I liked his voice very much. I just can't remember his name. Would you like to see that scene from Infinity Gauntlet where Cap confronts Thanos? Yes, there's the scene. Oh, finally somebody even asked you that. Yes, I would love to see that. All right. So thank you for the questions, Green Arrow Hunter. Next up, Ken Masters. Hey Chris, good to see you again. Have you been training? Uh, what would Guile and Steve say to each other if they met? I think they would. I bet you there would be a betting game for the Army Air Force games. Like, okay, yeah, there's gonna be a bet for them to like, okay, Army, there's always that classic Army and Air Force, you know. But I think they would get along. There would be a lot of respect for each other once again. So thank you, Ken. Didn't know Ken was a didn't know you were a big Steve Cap fan. And we have somebody who's actually worked with Steve here, Luke Cage. Hey, Luke. Lucas Cage. And like I said, guys, I'm not making these up. Once again, don't make these up. You can see right there, Ken, Luke Cage. Uh, but let's get to the questions. Your first question, Luke, you asked me is, could Cap lead the Justice League? Yes, he could. Yes, he could. Absolutely. I think Steve could lead the Justice League very well. Because it's never really said who is the leader of the Justice League. There's never been, if is Superman the leader? Is Batman the leader? I mean, there have been chairpersons. I remember at one point Black Canary led the team once, but um, I think Steve could lead them very much. I definitely agree with that. Um, your next question is, if you could choose another race for Captain America, for Cap, what would it be? So basically saying someone who's not African American or Caucasian, white. That's easy. Native American. A Native American Captain America would be so cool and so believable and understand and like, yeah, you can't regret it. If not Native American, I can go Latino, but Native American, my first choice. Uh, and your next question is, have I learned well under Cap? Um, yeah, you have, Luke. You've learned pretty well. You've gained great leadership skills under Cap. So yeah, I'll say yeah, you have. Okay, Luke. Just take care of that baby. Um, Young J Way, 123 says favorite quote from Cap. Uh, that's a simple. I actually put it up on my Facebook not too long ago. He's talking to Spider-Man, and Spider-Man basically asks him, which I'm gonna read out loud to you. Uh, uh, basically, Steve has Peter's asking Steve, about. He says basically this: when the whole country is against you, when it's all bearing down on you like some kind of 10-ton weight, and you don't know your own heart anyone sometimes anymore sometimes, how does someone like you deal with it? I mean, you practically are the country. How does the man who is the country react when the country does a different goes a different way? I I don't want to know, Cap. I don't want to know, Cap. I need to know. And Steve says, "You really want to know, Peter?" And Peter says, "Yes, please." And Peter says, basically, doesn't matter. And once again, I'm reading it right here. He says it doesn't matter what the press says. Doesn't matter what the mob says or does. The whole country decides to say something wrong is something that isn't something wrong isn't right. This is a nation. This nation was founded on the principles above all else. The the requirement that we stand up for what we believe, no matter the odds or, or the consequences. When they say all that stuff, you just turn around and say to the world, you tell the world, you say to them, no, you move. When they tell you to move, you move. And I was like, that is a really cool saying. I like that. So yes, Steve is giving some great quotes. Another great quote for me came from the first Captain America movie. And it wasn't even Cap who said it. It was Dr. Erskine, once again, who said it. When he said why he chose Steve. He says, because a weak man knows the value of strength compared to, basically him saying a weak man knows the value of strength, knows the value, all the other values, while a person who has everything, a stronger man, he looks at it, he's looking down on the world and things like that. Saying was so cool. I was like, that, it was just so great to hear that. And I love the other line, no matter what happens, once again, First Avengers, no matter what happens, stay who you are. Not just a soldier, but a good man. And when he died, I love that where he still points at Steve's chest, his heart, and is like, stay a good man. And I was like, that's cool. Steve has had some good quotes over the whether his portrayals, he's had some good quotes. Jay said, favorite team up story. I have a lot. I like him with Cap, him with Spider-Man. There's too many. There's too many. For third question, is Cap too morally strong in your opinion? I mean, I personally think he is. Like, what went down in with the Illuminati recently? I mean, sometimes he acts like he didn't fight in a war. Thanks, Chris. I think he's been said to be a little too uh, morally strong, but that's just who he is. But I think the way he looks at it is like the Illuminati's doing. They're on the low with that stuff, and it's like, you know. Mm. Uh, Eric King, you say which golden age superhero slash heroine would you like to see in a Cap team up with outside of Marvel? Uh, the Phantom, Green Hornet, the Shadow, the Spirit, uh, Black Bat, Doc Savage, um, Ms. Fury, uh, Captain Midnight. There's a bunch of them. I said the Shadow, didn't I? Shadow, Green Hornet, the Green Llama. I can go on and on with the Pulp era heroes, dude. Like, don't get me started on them. Uh, if Marvel Studios had the rights to use Wolverine in their cinematic, would you like to see? Yeah, I would love to see them finally tell the story between the World War II story between Cap and Steve when they were on that mission together. I would like to see it. Yeah. Um, would you like to see Activision put out a Captain America video game other than just Spider-Man and X-Men video games? Maybe, but like I said, I would want it to be open world and so to speak like that. All right. Next questions are from Dylan Malone, 14. Outside of Marvel, who do you think can be a good replacement if something happened to Steve Rogers? Guile, but he would have to cut his hair. Um, um, uh, oh, of course. You said outside of Marvel, okay, Master Chief, probably could pull it off. Um, People like that. Those are the two that popped in my head real quick. Uh, Cap's most violent moment. I can't really necessarily recall it, but I know it happened, and I believe it happened in Ed Brubaker's run, or in recently it happened in Rick Morender's run. What Armanzola did to Jesus Christ. Some things in there. From anime, comics, TV, and video games, who do you want to see team up with the captain and why? Video games, like I said, I'll just go video games. These are the people I would love to see team up with Cap. Sonya Blade, Jax, and Guile. They could work well together with Steve. Why? Because I freaking said so. Well, no, they would work well together. I think they would get along very well, and each would have a utmost respect for each other. There you go. Um, I'm just using that. I'm not even gonna go anymore. Shadow Goth Ryu, you say if done right, would you mind a Marvel and Madhouse doing a Cap anime? No, I wouldn't. Done right, wouldn't mind it at all. If someone wants to get into Cap, what run would you start he or she off? Honestly, um, I would actually have you read Cap and Falcon. That was a good series. Where it was a team up series. Then I would give you definitely Ed Brubaker's run of Captain America. That's what I would start you off. Um, I know this question gets thrown out, but if it hasn't, um, would you like to see Hideo Kojima and Konami take over Cap as far as video game franchise? I would love to see Hideo Kojima take on Cap. Like I said, I feel Cap can work the way Cap he could work in a Metal Gear feel like universe that world. All right, Omnitron 1 2 3 4 5. If you could give Cap one extra power as part of the serum, what would it? What would it have been? It's never. It's not really powers. The serum just ups his a normal human's attributes. Um, Cap doesn't really have super strength. Like so to speak, as like Spider-Man. He has peak human strength, meaning sure he can lift like say 500 pounds no problem. Like he'll curl it no problem. I wouldn't say that's superhuman strength. It's just he's pretty strong. Um, but if anything, I would say I would want his senses to be really heightened, like his hearing, his eyesight, everything. Um, that would be it. Yeah. Um, do you think Cap is Marvel's Superman and Batman rolled into one? Uh, I would say he's more of a Superman esque, but not as much as Batman. Uh, not too much. Not at all. No, not really. Sorry about that. Um, do you think Ultimate Cap is a terrible version of Steve Rogers? Yeah, I don't like Ultimate Cap. I don't. If you do, that's fine. But I don't. I can't. I don't like him at all. Um, Lamar, Dagger Wolf. Who and why? Who and why did Sharon get taken out? Are you talking in the comic wise? Because she actually risked her life to save Steve, and she fell to her death after she was able to get him out of Dimension Z. So she sacrificed herself. Um, I really wish she didn't die, but yeah. But odds are they'll probably bring her back or something. Um, can an Invaders film happen? I I say so. Um, but then it can and then it cannot because we've seen footage of Cap with the Howling Commandos all the time. So it'd be really hard to say, well, unless they start to say, well, there was a short part of time where Steve wasn't with the Howling Commandos. He was off somewhere else. It's top secret. And then hence we see the invaders. That's just me. What stories would you like to see? What stories would you like to see where Falcon takes over as Cap? Basically, right. The first thing I want to see is just how is Sam's mindset. This is a big step for him. He's taken over a position that one of his good friends used, and so I'm looking to see the trials and tribulations of him dealing with this. But I also can't wait to see some of Cap's villains like Badrock the Leaper and Crossbones and all those characters, and Zola, who is still around. Like, whoa, so you're the new Cap. I know Zola, he's going to hate it. And, of course, Crossbone, because he's a neo-Nazi himself. Brian Kersey. Hey, Brian, my computer seems to be hates live streams, so I'll go ahead and ask now. Uh, what do you want to see in Cap 3? Like I said, the birth of the Marvel Cinematic Universe version of the Secret Avengers. Hopefully, we'll see maybe Armin Zola. No, Armin Zola. I mean, Baron Zemo. Things like that. Um, have you ever watched the Red Brown Cap? Yeah, I watched them. Um, which one of Cap's supporting characters would you like to see get their own Marvel book? I would say Sharon. I would have said Sharon Carter. Maybe Dum Dum Dugan. Um, but practically almost everybody else has. Maybe Nah, that's cool. Pretty much that's it. Black Man Hulk. Um, who do you think is the next villain for Cap 3? Like I said, Armin Zola. I'm not Armin Zola. I keep saying Baron Zemo. I think will definitely be in there. We're definitely gonna see Crossbones come back. Um, but yeah, those are a couple. That's who I think it is. What do you think about Sam Wilson as Captain America? I'm cool with it. Looking forward to it. Um, just looking forward to seeing everything about that. And the fact is, he's still going to have his wings. So the whole thing is that we still should call him Captain Falcon. It's cool. Um, do you think Steve Rogers will be Captain America again at some point? I never say never. That is never say never. I'm not even going to say I doubt it. No, never say never. All right. So that is all the questions on the announcement vid. Thank you all for the questions on there. I will move on to, let's see if we got any questions on the live show. I bet you there's a bunch. I just need to check. Check. All right. So bear with me, guys. Bear with me, guys. All right. So that's all the Cap questions. All right. Okay. Here we go. Okay. All right. So we have pretty good standard amount of questions. Yes, Evil Mind. Yes, Batman. Dick Grayson did lead the Justice League, but I'm talking literally before that. It was the question like who leads them. So let's see what we got here. Everybody has 4. All right. Okay. Finally, Tevia Smoker. Finally, you asked something. You finally comment on my stuff because I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. You kind of creep me out because all you do is plus my vids, and that I need input from you, dude. Like, what are your thoughts? So I'm glad that you're here. So thank you. It kind of that creeps me out, dude. I don't like just constant pluses on my vids and no kind of input, kind of reaction to it. So, and I'm probably got a bunch more questions, but for here we have a question. When one did yeah, everybody lost their memory of Peter being masked. So yeah, that's not without saying. Cap, everybody, yeah. So Cap did, yeah. Cap lost it. Uh, what is your opinion on American Dream? Just wondering. Talked about American Dream. I told her before. I love American Dream. So that's another one. Uh, Nathan, you say what are you looking forward? What are you looking forward to in Captain America 3? Like I said, I'm calling it like I see it. The birth, Captain America 3, I feel will be the birth of the Marvel Cinematic Universe version of the Secret Avengers. Evil Mastermind question: do you think we will see Baron Zemo anytime soon? Yes, I think Baron Zemo will probably be in Cap 3. Uh, Hey, Chris. Hey, Lost Senpai. How you doing? Uh, Time travel only works for Doctor Who and a few other people. Yes, thank you. Uh, all right, that was your. What was that? What was that? Okay, your second question. Evil Mind Evil Mastermind is question. Do you think we will see AIM done right in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Yeah, I think they could pretty much. I think they'll change it up a little bit. I mean, I don't think we will see them just running around in all yellow with the big, almost like radiated suits and things like that. But a variation of it, but keep it close to AIM. I could, yeah, probably. Here's okay. What's the next question? To Ava, that is your okay. Your third question is what is your opinion? I just okay. I did answer that. Okay. Um. All right, what is your okay? I talked. I said it. Talked about American Dream. Okay. Evil Mastermind. You asking who is American Dream? American Dream is Shannon Carter's. You could research it. Marvel had another universe which was created by Tom DeFalco. It was the Marvel. They called it Marvel Comics 2 or Earth 982. In this universe, all the heroes that we know have gotten older or passed on, died, and some of them have kids. Peter Parker had a daughter and a son with Mary Jane, Ben, and May. May became Spider Girl. She she took on the legacy of her father. She wore Ben Reilly's costume, Spider-Man costume. And Peter, reason why Peter stopped being Spider-Man because he still has his powers, but he had one last fight with Green Goblin, lost his leg in that fight. He has a prosthetic leg. He works forensics for the NYPD. His children inherited his spider powers. His youngest is Ben, and he's just a baby, and he crawls up the wall like what carefree in the world and just goo goo gaga, and no problem. But they don't see it. Only Mary Jane and Peter know about May. They don't know about Ben yet. They think he doesn't, but he does it on the side. Uh, American Dream is Sharon Carter's niece, and she heard all the stories from her aunt about Captain America. And because of that, she was so inspired by what she heard, she she donned a version of Captain America, a version of it, used his shield, takes his shield, and she became the American Dream. And she has like little like her armbands, like her gloves have like little like batarangs. They shoot projectiles out of her gauntlet in her gloves as well. She's a great martial artist. She's just really good. She has no powers, and for someone who she can throw Cap's shield very well and catch it and everything like that. Doesn't break her arm, so she's learned well. She leads Annex, which is the Avengers of that world, and her and Spider Girl are pretty good friends. But you can research more into American Dream, but she's a good character. Uh, can't answer your questions, 58, because you asked your questions on the announcement vid. So sorry, you don't get to ask another question. So no, sorry. Um, let's see. Black Doggy Claw, yo, Chris, do you think Cap can hold his own anime series? I said yeah, it probably could. I said it would be cool to see that. Question: do you think the Red Skull will return? This is Evil Mastermind. This is your fourth question, I think. Do you think Red Skull will return to Marvel Cinematic Universe? I hope so because I hated how they did that in First Avenger. But the problem is Hugo Weaving. I don't think he wants to play the character anymore. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to take off my boots. Um, I don't think he wants to play the character anymore, and uh, I then find somebody else. If that's the case, then get another person to that's gonna play the character. Uh, that's just me. That's the way I look at it. But I would want to see. I thought that I thought in Cap 2, Pierce, he was going to be Red Skull in disguise. Like, he was going to rip it and was like, surprise, Captain? You surprised to see me? Like, I've been here for years, like, just watching you. And go into detail like he's been there for years. But they didn't. It'd have been cool. Um, who is my favorite Cap villain? Uh, uh, actually, I love. I really don't have a hardcore Cap villain. I like them all. I love the Serpent Society. I love Red Skull, like Baron Zemo, Baron von Strucker, Badrock the Leaper, Crossbones, uh, Flag Smasher. I can keep going on and on with the Cap villains. So yeah. Last question. Okay. Do you think Sin will appear? I would love to see. Sorry, I'm getting loud. I would love to see Sin in the cinematic universe, and that could be a good explanation of almost giving us a sense that okay, Skull was in the modern times somewhere, but he died, but he had a child. Sin. There you go. I would love that. I would freaking love that. Lost Senpai, you asked me, what's your favorite Captain America personality trait? Personality-wise, belief in his belief in the abilities of his his teammates in the human race. Just his old school beliefs. I love it. Say what you want. But I love his beliefs. Just how he looks at the world and how he looks in the eyes of people. He can see the good in people. He's not necessarily always seeing the bad in them. Right away. He sees the good first. And I like that about Cap. That's one thing I love about Cap. Question 2 from Black Dolly Claw. You say, do you think Captain America and Tommy Oliver can have a student and teacher relationship? Maybe, maybe. I think they could. Thanks for answering my questions. Chris. Oh, you're welcome, Spawn. I have the page open. I know you're not. I have the page. I know you're not. Okay. Dick Grayson. Okay, Dick Grayson. All right. Quest quote. Nathan, you asked me, what do you think of the friendship between Cap and Tony back then and now? It is a kind of a different take on it now. They still carry the essence of Steve and Tony from back in the days to now, but you can see it has changed a bit. Um, Steve knows Tony has some secrets, and maybe he doesn't want to share. And Tony kind of looks at Steve as like almost in a sense of how Nick Fury in Winter Soldier kind of looks at Steve. It's like, when are you going to kind of get with the program now? In a sense of like, It's not 19. It's not the 1940s anymore. It's not the Great Depression anymore. It's a new millennium now. Get with it. You know. So it's still, but there's still that mutual respect for each other. You know, Tony has still said, you know, no matter what, you're still the finest man I've ever met. It's still there. I did not give you input till today. Are you talking to me, Evil Mastermind, or are you talking to somebody else? Black W, your fourth question. Can Cap work in a Gundam series? Yeah, that's a hard one right there. I'm a big Gundam fan. I'm not sure. Uh, Cap is the type of character that needs to be on the front line, and he needs to be there. He's a soldier through and through, and he needs to be there with his men. I can't see him being like a leader, but he's like a general, but he doesn't get involved in the wars. He has to be on that front line, and I don't see him getting behind a giant robot to prove that. If he's gonna face you, he want it mano and mano, man to man, face to face, eye to eye, no flesh and flesh or whatever in him, no steel versus steel or alloy or whatever it is. But I don't see it. Um, if you say the voice for Cap in um, Earth's Mightiest Heroes is Brian Bloom. He was also the voice for Punisher in. Okay, thank you, Danny. Thank you for the question. Final question: should Cap have a full-on teenage sidekick again? Uh, I thought he was gonna have a sidekick with uh what's her name? Armin Zola's daughter, Jet Black. I thought that was gonna be his sidekick for a while, you know, especially, but I guess not. Um, and yes, Sam slept with her. Oh God. Um, way to go, Sam. uh, Sin is my favorite Cap villain. Sin is a great character. Not gonna lie about that. That's what I'm saying. Like, if they can find a way to put her in, I would take it. Thanks, Chris. You're welcome, dude. Thank you. Welcome. I'm talking to you. Okay. um. So that seems to be all the questions. Um. I will give you guys a few more minutes. Give you a few more minutes before I wrap this up. But I want to thank. But before that, I want to thank all those who left questions on the announcement vid. Thank you very much for those questions. To the people on Tumblr, on my Tumblr page, and they left questions there. Thank you, and the people that were on left questions on my Twitter. Thank you very much, as well. So, in the meantime, like I said, guys, you know, Steve is he's one of my favorite Marvel heroes. Is he up there with Spidey? I think he's number 4. Spidey is number 1 with me. That's how it is. But he's still in my top 10. But I love Cap. I love the character. I always thank Joe Simon and the King himself, Jack Kirby, for creating the character. God hail to the King, man. You know, Stan Lee may be the man, but Jack is the king. And that man has created and co-created so many great characters. There should be a goddamn shrine to this guy alone. Or he should have a Hall of Fame wing just to himself. And he deserves it. You know, I think today Jack would be very happy and pleased to see his characters, what they're doing with his characters on this big screen. Some he'd probably be a little upset about. He'd be like really weird about. I'm not gonna lie. But Hulk, he would just be like, wow. You know, Cap, I know he would be. He's willing. I know he wants to see. I know he would be amongst, just like Stanley. He wants to see T'Challa brought to the big screen. Um, I think he would urge DC and Warner Brothers, get the New Gods on the big screen. I'm just saying, but I think Jack Kirby a lot for all the characters he's created, and Cap is one of them. He co-created them, and and I love, and the one thing I've always loved is Stan Lee is quick to tell people, I did not create him. I didn't create the character. Um, Before I even got to Marvel, he was created. Timely Comics, Joe Simon, and Jack created the character. Um, there was always a question I always had when I was reading Cap is like, how does he throw a shield and it comes back to him no problem, and it's not like a boomerang, and I used to think Cap had some like ESP with the shield back in the days, when I was younger. I used to think he had telepathy with the shield, like he was kind of a telekinetic, he just hold his hands out and it come back to him. But then when you start to get into the shield and research and get into the fact of the shield is vibranium, so it's sound and bounce and boom and and it's all this, and but I always love the fact that there are only a certain amount of people that can throw that shield properly without just shattering their arm to pieces. Hawkeye can do it, and he explained why. It's based on marksmanship. Hawkeye is a marksman. Bucky, he throws it with his